Coming up on Global Business, Chinese Premier Li Qiang says the platform economy can boost demand and innovation while acting as a new channel for job creation and entrepreneurship. With summer vacation in full swing, China's tourism hotspots, airports, and railways see a surge in travelers as domestic tourism spending jumps. And China marks its annual Low Carbon Day today to promote sustainable development and tackle climate change. Well, welcome everyone to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong in Beijing. Well, first up, Premier Li Qiang says China's platform economy provides new space for greater demand, innovation, and development, and new channels for employment and entrepreneurship. Premier Li made the remarks today when presiding over a meeting for platform companies. Now, after speeches from the heads of platform giants Meituan, Little Red Book, Alibaba Cloud, and other major enterprises, Premier Li pointed out that the platform economy has great potential for the building of a modern socialist country in all respects. He hopes that platform companies will continue to promote innovation, empower economic development, and improve their international competitiveness. Premier Li emphasized that governments at all levels should create a fair market order and establish a regular communication mechanism with platform enterprises to promote the healthy development of the industry. Premier Li also stressed improving relevant policies and measures to promote sustainable development of the platform economy. Well, tourism is rebounding sharply as Chinese consumers pack up for the first post-pandemic summer vacation. Travel orders placed on China's leading life services platform Meituan since the beginning of July have doubled compared to the same period of 2019. Air travel demand is also surging. Aviation data provider Flight AI said air travelers exceeded 9 million in the first 5 days of the summer season. That's up 14% compared with the same period of 2019. Meanwhile, airfares for domestic and international routes grew 21% and 22% respectively compared with 2019. Northern cities are the most sought-after destinations as these extreme heat drives travelers towards cooler places up north. Well, Zhangjiajie in southern China's Hunan province is renowned as one of China's most famous tourist cities. It's also a perfect destination for a summer getaway, with its misty peaks and natural forests providing respite from heat waves sweeping through many other cities in the country. Our Cao Zhufeng has more.
Tianmen Mountain stands as one of the most popular scenic attractions in Zhangjiajie. Not only does it offer a spectacular view, but the temperature at the summit remains at 26 degrees Celsius this summer. Recently, in some other cities in China, temperatures have reached as high as 40 degrees Celsius, making Tianmen Mountain an ideal place to escape the heat.
The scenery of Tianmen Mountain is beyond words. After seeing Tianmen Mountain, there is no need to visit other mountains, and the temperature at the top of the mountain is cool and comfortable.
As students throughout China are gradually starting their summer holiday, Tianmen Mountain is receiving over 20,000 visitors daily. The scenic area has also implemented measures to cope with the high influx of visitors.
This summer, the average daily number of visitors to our scenic area has increased by 175% compared to the same period last year. We have opened 3 cableway lines for round trips, introduced paperless smart entry, and advanced ticket sales, making it more convenient and efficient for visitors.
Zhangjiajie National Forest Park, nicknamed as Natural Oxygen Bar and Summer Resort, has also attracted a large number of tourists. From July 1st to 9th, the number of ticket purchasers in the park exceeded 160,000.
It feels great here, very beautiful. The murmuring streams give a poetic and beautiful feeling, like a fairyland.
Boosting consumption is one of the measures the Chinese government is taking to drive economic development this year, and tourism is one of the key sectors. This summer, Zhangjiajie has intensified its marketing efforts, launching various types of tourism products in hopes of seizing the opportunities of the summer tourist season. Cao Zhufeng, CGTN.
And as the world battles with extreme summer heat, the sports industry here in China continues to experience significant growth in consumer demand. Now, despite the scorching temperatures, there are still a variety of sports activities on offer, and the market size of sports-related consumption in China is steadily increasing. Our Zhao Xueteng takes a closer look.
This summer, soaring temperatures are cooling people's passion for working out. If you feel stuck in the rut in a heat wave, here's the good news. Doing some winter sports during summertime can just make you feel stronger and cooler.
During the summer month, there has been a noticeable increase in the number of people visiting indoor training venues. The surge in visitors is expected to have a positive impact on our shop sales as well. As customers begin learning winter sports such as skiing, they tend to show interest in buying professional ski clothing and equipment.
Winter sports are no longer restricted to specific seasons or locations in China. Thanks to the increasing number of sports venues such as snow parks and ski resorts being built throughout the country. In addition to indoor activities, sports that allow people to connect with nature are also gaining popularity.
As China prioritizes environmental protection and sustainable development, there has been a shift towards promoting sports consumption scenarios that allow people to engage in immersive outdoor physical activities while also preserving the environment. Water sports are examples such scenarios where tourists can enjoy these activities while being conscious of their impact on the environment.
With both children and adults engaging in a diverse range of indoor and outdoor sports during the summer vacation period, there has been a significant peak in the sports consumption. This heightened passion for sports has also been reflected in the Chinese sports market during this year's June 18th shopping carnival. According to data from the e-commerce platform JD, from May 31st to June 18th, over 50 sports brands saw their turnover increase by more than 100% compared to the previous year, indicating a significant surge in sports consumption. With rising health awareness, more and more Chinese people are choosing to do sports and physical activities on a regular basis. With better equipment, more choices, and more venues for doing sports on offer, even rising temperatures can cool surging sports consumption demand. Zhao Shitong, CGTN, Beijing.
And up next here on Global Business. U.S. inflation rises by a less than expected 3% in June compared to a year ago, with shelter costs the largest contributor to June's inflation reading.
From the 1,035-kilometer railway linking China to Laos, facilitating connectivity and boosting economic growth in the landlocked Southeast Asian country, to the joint China-Saudi Arabia photovoltaic project to harness renewable energy in the oil-dependent kingdom. The Belt and Road Initiative has come a long way since it was first proposed in 2013, complementing the development strategies of partner countries and building on their existing strength.
开创合作共赢的新模式。
The Belt and Road Initiative, linking the world in the pursuit of common prosperity for humanity.
To the U.S. economy, where all eyes today are on the latest inflation numbers. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics have now released June's inflation data. And our John Tarrant is in New York to break down those numbers for us. Hiya, John.
Yes.
John, so why are these figures...
Good morning. Welcome to the New York Stock Exchange, where trading gets underway in exactly 20 minutes from now.
Yeah, John, I was just going to ask you, why are these figures so widely anticipated?
Well, there's a very good reason for that. The thing to understand is that this was the last key piece of data, we were told, that the Federal Reserve, the central bank, would get before it makes its next decision on interest rates, which will be at the end of the month. The other key piece was the jobs report, which came out rather tamer than we thought last Friday. Now, what CPI is what Americans pay month over month and year over year, more or less, and as you know, in recent history it's been much more, for things in stores and at gas stations and that sort of thing. Now, here's what's happened in the last year. The forecast goes like this. So a year ago, pretty much today, inflation in America was at 9%. Then last month in May, it was down to 4%. This is the headline rate. And we were looking for it to be at 3.1% in the month of June. But I have to tell you that core inflation, that's what you get when you strip out food and energy. We are always anticipating that to be much higher. And that's still a problem. And more or less, that's exactly what has come to pass, because here are the figures. So month over month, US inflation was up 0.2%, not 0.3 as anticipated. Year over year, it's at 3%. Remember, it was 9% a year ago, 3% now, not 3.1 as expected. So that's very good. But then we come to core inflation. It's a bit mixed, really. Food and energy gone, and it was up 4.8%, not 5% as expected. So that's very good. So it's less than we thought, but it's still pretty elevated. And I have to warn you, that is the key figure that will be looked at along with the average hourly earnings, the wages figure. That's what the central bank is going to care about most. So here at the exchange, the futures markets, before this, the Dow was up by 54 points. The dollar's on a 5-day decline. Look at the Mexican peso at the moment, it's roaring away. And the bonds have been slipping. But after this news came out, the Dow was up 180 points. That's 3 times what it was before the news came out. The bond yields are diving, though, the 10 and the 2-year, and the dollar is considerably weaker.
Right. So, John, those inflation numbers for June rising at a slower than expected pace. But like you said, core inflation still a little bit elevated for the U.S. Federal Reserve's comfort. What happens next?
That's the thing. Well, tomorrow, Thursday, we get PPI. Now, PPI is like CPI, except it's wholesale inflation. And think of it like this. If you're making a chair, for example, a wooden chair, you buy the wood from the wholesaler. As the maker of that chair, you don't necessarily have to pass that on to your customers if you don't want to. Okay, and that's why wholesale inflation is less sort of hot and happening than the one we've had today, which is CPI. Now, the FOMC committee, the committee at the Federal Reserve that looks at interest rates, will meet in about 2 weeks from now, on July the 25th and 26th. They will look at this CPI data, but they'll concentrate on the core inflation of 4.8%. They'll look at last week's jobs data. We were told to expect 240,000 new jobs. We got 209, so well down, but still pretty good, still pretty hot. So they'll look at that. They'll look at the average hourly earnings in particular. And because of all that, Wall Street is still betting that when they make their decision, we'll still have a 25 basis point increase, because all of this rather softer data, I think, has probably come a little bit too late. So now, we're assuming it'll go up by 25 basis points on the 26th of July. Now they have a holiday in August. They come back in September. The question is, what will they do in September? Will they hike? Will they pause? It will all come down to the data.
All right, John, many thanks for that report. As always, our John Terrett for us at the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden is traveling across the United States trying to persuade voters that he deserves a second term for his handling of the U.S. economy. He's now using a new buzzword to try to draw a sharp contrast with his presumptive opponent. And that's, of course, former President Donald Trump. Our Owen Faircloth explains.
If you're following Joe Biden's re-election campaign, you may have heard this new term.
Bidenomics. I didn't come up with the name.
Bidenomics may be largely a media invention, but the US president has embraced it to sum up the economic vision he's selling.
It's rooted in what we've always worked best at in this country, investing in America.
Biden isn't the first US president with an eponymous economic label.
Only people pay taxes, all the taxes.
Ronald Reagan's strategy in the 1980s was called Reaganomics.
Excessive taxation of individuals has robbed us of incentive.
And it's been something of a Republican blueprint ever since. Bidenomics aims to grow the economy from the bottom up to benefit the poorest first. It's led by government investment in sectors like infrastructure and transport, aiming to create jobs. Reaganomics does the opposite, intending to grow the economy from the top down. It inspired former President Donald Trump to cut taxes so that employers and the rich invest more in the supply of goods and services whose profits trickle down to employees.
$3.2 trillion in tax cuts.
Trump, now running for a second term, accuses Bidenomics of saddling the US with unsustainable debts through that government spending and driving up inflation.
This is an inflation nightmare.
Biden blames Trump for helping the richest 1% of Americans hoard most of the wealth. The US has the highest income inequality of the most advanced economies.
The trickle-down approach failed the middle class. It failed America. It blew up the deficit.
And these clashing ideologies form part of their presidential election strategies.
Both Biden and his presumptive Republican opponent, Donald Trump, are offering voters similar Made in America strategies. So these terms, Bidenomics, Reaganomics, or indeed Trumponomics, while unwieldy for many voters, may at least offer two distinctive worldviews on how these candidates want to manage the economy from the White House. Owen Fairclough, CGTN, Washington.
And in other headlines, we're tracking at this hour. The Bank of England said on Wednesday that the British economy has so far been resilient to the interest rate hikes of the past year and a half, but it will take time for the full impact to be felt. BOE Governor Andrew Bailey saying the bank will continue to monitor credit conditions for any signs of tightening which are not explained well by changes in the macroeconomic outlook. Australian Finance Minister Jim Chalmers said on Wednesday that the cabinet would soon meet to decide on the country's central bank's next governor. Markets still don't know whether Chalmers will extend that 7-year term of Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Philip Lowe or choose a replacement. And New Zealand's central bank left its key interest rate unchanged at 5.5% on Wednesday. It said it expected inflation to ease even further in the coming months. That decision comes after government data in June showed the economy was already in recession. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand said interest rates were, quote, constraining spending and inflation pressure as anticipated and required. Well, Malaysia has long been a destination for foreign investment, especially in the electronics sector. In recent years, it has also drawn plenty of investment from China. As companies seek to diversify their supply chains, Malaysia saw a jump in FDI last year. Ryan Meltzer has more from Kuala Lumpur.
On his recent visit to China, Malaysia's Prime Minister witnessed the signing of billions of dollars worth of potential investment deals. In recent years, China has often been the country's biggest source of FDI, investing in infrastructure, train assembly, car making, power, steel, and the tech sector, with the likes of Alibaba and Huawei prominent in AI, data centers, and cloud computing.
We are very confident to improve the Malaysia connectivity and to be a contributor is to how to accelerate digital transformation. One key project is we are partner with Telkom Malaysia to build the first Malaysia owner cloud and AI platform. This platform to ensure data sovereignty and data locality.
Last year, Malaysia saw a 50% increase in FDI. The US was the #1 investor, much of it in the tech sector, with Amazon Web Services pledging to invest $6 billion here in cloud computing infrastructure. Malaysia has long been a vital part of the global electronics supply chain.
Malaysia holds a very strategic location in Asia. It also has an ecosystem that has been built up over the last 50 years that supports international trading business. I think people are seeing that Malaysia is a very strong, trusted partner. There is an increased need for businesses to diversify their supply chains, and they're seeing that the partnerships they've established in the country are true and can be relied upon and built upon.
But Malaysia faces stiff competition for FDI from ASEAN neighbors such as Indonesia and Vietnam. Business and analysts agree that if Malaysia hopes to maintain its FDI momentum, it needs to continue streamlining investment approvals and upgrading the skills of its workforce. And if it could once again enjoy sustained political stability, that would surely help to achieve those goals. Ryan Meltzer, CGTN, Kuala Lumpur.
It's still to come here on Global Business. China marks its annual Low Carbon Day today to promote sustainable development and tackle climate change.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Well, today marks China's 11th Low Carbon Day. Over the past decade, the country has made steady progress in its green transition and tackling climate issues. Data shows that from 2012 to 2022, China's carbon dioxide emissions per unit of GDP dropped by 36.7%. The forest coverage rate, meanwhile, has increased significantly at over 24% so far. It is now very close to the country's 2025 target. Looking forward, experts say the measures supporting green consumption and green finance are gradually improving. Well, many cities and provinces around China are promoting the establishment of zero-carbon factories. Now, those are ones that offset their carbon emissions with energy-saving re-engineering techniques and investments in emission reduction projects. Our Zhang Shixuan took a trip to one of these factories in Shanghai to find out more.
With a production capacity of more than 80 million boxes of medicine a year, these non-stop pharmaceutical production lines have an endless demand for air conditioners. That means a huge demand for energy. And so the reduction of carbon emissions is high on this company's agenda. Much of the factory's air conditioning system has now been upgraded. The company's introduced new equipment like heat pumps and heat pipes to recycle the heat, as well as a new carbon emission management system. The entire rooftop is now covered with photovoltaic panels.
You might have thought that creating a green factory like this would require a prohibitive amount of investment, a series of new systems and installations. For this factory, it cost around 7.5 million yuan during the past decade to reduce carbon emissions. But the investment has already paid off, and the factory says it's even created new economic benefits.
Our three-dimensional heat pipes have the highest investment return rate. We got our costs back in just a few months. For those with slower investment returns like photovoltaic panels, we make our investment back in 6 or 7 years, but they can be used for more than 20 years, which means that after we get our costs back, we can be operating at no cost but only saving money for more than 10 years.
As of 2021, this factory in Shanghai's Zhangjiang Science City had already saved 31 million yuan in energy costs, more than 4 times the money spent on its upgrades.
Especially for photovoltaic technologies, China is leading the globe, so we are very happy to buy Chinese products. Now there's a new type of panel made of perovskite, which is more flexible. Once that technology is commercialized, we plan to cover our entire building with photovoltaic panels.
This is just one of the 20 companies which has been awarded a zero-carbon certificate by the Shanghai government.
The Pudong New Area has launched new policies. Each zero-carbon factory receives an award of 500,000 yuan. Leading foreign invested firms are playing a demonstration and leading role in green transformation. They include Bosch, Siemens, and Schneider. Many local companies in the automobile, pharmaceutical, and consumer goods industries have all moved up to go zero carbon.
This has all triggered new demands for well-educated talent in the field. At the end of 2020, Shanghai Jiaotong University established a college of smart energy to cultivate new professionals that have a good command of both smart technologies and clean energy.
Our smart energy engineering major is the first such undergraduate major of its kind in China.
In the future, the energy studies will be combined with internet technologies and AI.
Liu says that the employment situation has turned out well beyond expectations. An action plan released by the city government calls for Shanghai to have 150 green manufacturing demonstration firms by 2025. 张世璇 ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
Surrounded by the glass and steel towers of London's Canary Wharf, a small, low-rise construction called the Greenhouse Theatre has sprung up. Its mission, to serve as a gentle reminder that everyone can fight climate change. Our correspondent Li Jianhua has more.
Empty nets, empty reels, empty stomachs, empty grills.
This show, To the Ocean, is a modern retelling of the silky myth where people transform between human beings and seals. It's told with a cast of 4 with a few props.
I think you're right. I think he's right. There, it's plastic.
Built from reused materials, the small construction is built at the first zero-waste theatre in the UK. Hidden amongst the skyscrapers in London's financial district, the small portable venue is staging plays in the capital over the summer. The idea is to bring people together and raise awareness of environmental protection in a gentle way.
It's about not necessarily ramming climate change or sustainable choices down your throat. It's about just inviting you to see a different way of, like, how do we actually interact with the world, and also how does, as we move away from rural settings, how does our relationship with magic change? Because it's obviously it's a fairy tale, so there is a bit of magic in there.
Yeah, and that's why actually it's so lovely being here, because we're in Canary Wharf right now, you know, in the middle of like skyscraper city.
Yeah, so industrial.
And we've just got this lovely like venue popped up in this green space of London, so it just feels really special to be in
like an oasis.
This.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
The theatre space can host up to 50 audience members. Some are impressed with the ethos of the theatre.
I'm very concerned, I think, like many people, about climate change, and I think it's really interesting to see how personal or individual actions can take place just as theatre, because like theatre production or media production in general can be so wasteful, especially if you think about like the film industry and just huge theatre productions. So it's lovely to see that it is possible to do without such waste. It definitely feels like the beginning of it.
However, with trips to the theatre considered a luxury during Britain's cost of living crisis, the founder is worried for future projects.
Mostly at the moment, we're funding ourselves through ticket sales and through bar sales. Unfortunately, with the cost of living crisis, it's not doing quite as well as we'd like it to, which is a real shame. It's kind of putting some of our future projects in a bit of jeopardy. But we hope that we'll be able to just kind of keep ploughing on through, and people will start to hear more about us, and more people will come to our shows, more people will buy drinks. We do some private funding as well, like through donations on our website and that kind of thing. But mainly, the vast majority is through ticket sales and bar, and we'd love that to be doing better.
The theatre director says his target audiences are aged between 16 and 35, who tend to be very worried about the environment. The upcycled theatre here serves to form a community where they can make a difference, no matter how small that is. Li Jianhua, CGTN, London.
And that's going to do it for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.